Throughout Overwatch's history, there have been many truly great flex support players. Over the last few years, several people have made their mark and have shown us what it truly means to be the best. From crazy sleep darts to Zenyatta 4Ks, flex support is truly a role where people can show their skill. In the Overwatch League, there have been many insane flex supports, some who dominate everyone around them, and some who redefine what it means to be the best in the world. Today, I'm going to be talking about the top 5 flex supports in Overwatch history. This list is 100% my own opinion and is definitely biased, so feel free to comment who you think are the top 5 flex supports in Overwatch history in the comment section below. Starting us off at number 5 is Twilight, a legendary Ana player who has dominated the Overwatch scene for years. Originally starting off on the 2019 Vancouver Titans as a part of that famous Runaway squad, Twilight immediately made an impact. Back in Season 2, Goats was the main meta played that year, and Twilight was a difference maker on the Zenyatta, leading his team to a Stage 1 title and a top 2 finish overall that season, as well as earning himself a Role Star. After the Titans dissolved in early Season 3, Twilight moved over to the San Francisco Shock, a team that actually beat him in the 2019 Grand Finals. On the Shock, Twilight became the third member of the greatest support rotation in League history, Twilight, Moth, and Violet. Although he was no longer a permanent starter, Twilight definitely made an impact, and earned a May Melee and Countdown Cup title, as well as winning the 2020 playoffs. In 2021, the Shock were not nearly as good as in 2020. Internal issues, as well as questionable coaching decisions, led to the Shock having a slightly disappointing year, but none of this was Twilight's fault. He still played to an excellent degree that season, and despite the issues, the Shock still finished 4th in the playoffs that year. After that, Twilight decided to become a full-time starter in 2022 on the Toronto Defiant. However, things also didn't go quite that well, as the Toronto Defiant was a bit of a mess, and Twilight, along with Hisu, Chorong, and sometimes Hotba, dragged this team kicking and screaming out of mediocrity. They didn't get very close to a title, but top 3 at your own land is still pretty good. Twilight was tired of carrying this Defiant team, and in 2023 he packed his bags and moved over to the Boston Uprising, joining fellow legendary support players Izayaki and Lee Jae-gon to round out one of the best backlines that year. Initially, Twilight really didn't play that much, but early in the season, Izayaki, the other flex support on the team, suffered from a collapsed lung, and Twilight took over as the flex support for the team, and showed some of the best Ana performances of the whole year, hitting crazy shots, landing huge biotic grenades, and getting multiple kills per fight. This guy proved he still had what it took to be the best all these years later, and he'll definitely go down as one of the best flex supports of all time. Speaking of Izayaki, I have him at number 4. Izayaki started off his career on the 2018 LA Valiant. The Valiant, however, were a complete mess that year, and some strange coaching decisions led to Izayaki not getting played that much. However, Izayaki still managed to look relatively good, and would eventually get traded to the Shanghai Dragons midway through Season 2. Season 3, however, is where things really started to look good for Izayaki. The Shanghai Dragons were an incredible team, and Izayaki was on the forefront, making great plays on the Zenyatta and the Ana. In the 2020 season, Izayaki and the Shanghai Dragons ended up winning 2 stage titles, as well as coming 3rd overall in the regular season. However, in 2021, the Shanghai Dragons and Izayaki both took it up another notch, becoming the best team in the entire league, as well as winning 2 stage titles and eventually the Grand Finals. In Season 4, the Shanghai Dragons were absolutely the team to beat, and Izayaki was definitely a main part of that, even winning a Role Star that year. However, their dominance could not last forever, and in 2022, the Shanghai Dragons fell off a little bit, but Izayaki was not one of the problems. Despite the struggles that the Shanghai Dragons had, the team still managed to win the Summer Showdown, and Izayaki also won a Role Star that year too. In 2023, Izayaki went over to the Boston Uprising, joining Twilight and Lee Jae-gon, making a fantastic backline. Although Izayaki had a collapsed lung in the beginning of the season, he ended up coming back and absolutely showing his dominance, pushing the then undefeated Atlanta Reign to their limits. The Boston Uprising consistently placed top 4 throughout the year, and Izayaki demonstrated that he's always been one of the best flex supports in the whole world, whether it be on Ana, Zen, or even Baptiste. At number 3 I have Violet. Violet is widely considered to be the GOAT of Overwatch, and has truly shown some incredible performances over the last few years. Although I think Violet is truly an incredible flex support, he actually hasn't played flex support in a few years, as he's been on main support for the last 3 years. So I feel like I cannot put him any higher than top 3. That being said, when Violet did play flex support, he was absolutely the best in the world on it. He started out on the 2019 San Francisco Shock, and immediately showed us that he was one of the best to ever do it. Violet Zenyatta during the 2019 GOATS meta was truly something to behold. In 2019, he managed to win the Stage 2 finals as well as the Grand Finals. In 2020, Violet continued to dominate, winning both the May Melee and Countdown Cup finals, as well as securing his 2nd Grand Finals win in a row. On top of this, he also won a Role Star that year too. As stated before with Twilight, the 2021 San Francisco Shock certainly had some issues. Although they were still a top-tier team, San Francisco Shock was nowhere near as dominant as the previous years, and Violet Goat believers don't want to remember what happened on Kings Row during the playoffs against the Atlanta Reign. In 2022, with the start of Overwatch 2, Violet actually swapped over to main support, primarily being the Lucio and Brigitte player for the San Francisco Shock. Although it started out a little bit rough, Violet's main support quickly improved, and he actually ended up becoming one of the best main supports in the league that year, making it to the Grand Finals and losing to the Fuel in a brutal Map 7 loss. In 2023, he moved over to the Houston Outlaws, joining Shu and making one of the best backlines to ever grace the game. His Lucio was genuinely very good, and he had an argument for one of the best main supports in the whole world. Houston also placed second that year too, meaning that Violet has been in 4 Grand Finals, winning 2 of them. After Overwatch League went away, Violet joined From the Gamer, a top 3 team in OWCS Korea, and he looks like one of the best main supports over there too. Violet is truly the most flexible support player in the world, and if he continued to play flex support through the current year, I'm sure he'd be number 1 on this list. However, his multiple years on main support means I just can't give him the number 1 spot over the other 2 people on this list, regardless of how good I think he is. Either way, Violet is definitely one of the best players in history, and is definitely has a good chance at that GOAT argument. In the number 2 spot, I have Fielder. Fielder made his start in the Overwatch League on the 2020 Paris Eternal. Fielder, however, did not play with a team. He actually played at home, in Korea, on ping, at 4 in the morning. Despite these obvious struggles, Fielder still played very well, and led the team to a Summer Showdown win. In 2021, Fielder was traded over to the Dallas Fuel, along with his teammates Hanbin, Exy, and Sparkle. Dallas Fuel were a really good team that year, and ended up winning the May Melee tournament. Fielder was consistently a top-tier Ana and Moira player throughout that year, and even won a Role Star this season for his fantastic play. During the playoffs, however, the Dallas Fuel got upset by the Atlanta Reign, and placed 3rd. In 2022, the Dallas Fuel made some small changes, adding Edison to the team, and they went on a Summer Showdown run during the Chotes meta. They ended up clutching out in the Grand Finals later that season 4-3 against the San Francisco Shock on the back of Fielder's incredible Kiriko play, which he picked up right as the playoffs started. On top of that, he also won another Role Star. In 2023, Fielder was traded over to the Atlanta Reign, where he and the rest of the team would go on to have the best stage in Overwatch League history, only losing 5 maps total throughout the entire stage. Although the Atlanta Reign ended up bombing out of the playoffs later that year, Fielder still won a Role Star for 3 years in a row, and was easily a top-tier flex support that year. After Overwatch League went away, Fielder joined Team Falcons in OWCS Korea, and was on the 2nd best team over there. He continues to show us why he's one of the best Ana players, and even has a really good Baptiste and Moira on him as well. He's very consistent, and he always gets a lot of value, being able to keep anyone alive while not sacrificing his positioning. All in all, I think Fielder is definitely a close contender for the number 1 spot, and I think at any time in the future, both him and the number 1 person can swap interchangeably. I really do think it is that close. However, as of right now, I do not think he is number 1. Honorable mentions will go to Iris, Lastro, Skewed, RuPaul, Creative, Finn, and the late great Alarm. Each of these players are fantastic flex supports, and they truly showed their skills throughout the last few years. However, they all lack both the longevity and accomplishments of the players in this top 5. My number 1 spot goes to Shu. Over the last several years, Shu has been easily one of the most standout, aggressive, flashy, talented, and entertaining flex supports to watch. His aggressive pop-off plays, as well as his incredibly smart positioning and raw mechanics, have made him super interesting to watch over the last few years. He started his career off on the 2019 Guangzhou Charge. The Charge were not exactly the greatest team that season. However, Shu looked like a bright spot throughout the whole year, and upon finally getting a real team in 2020, he ended up leading the team to a victory in the Summer Showdown. In 2021, Shu was finally released from his Guangzhou Charge prison, and ended up moving over to the LA Gladiators. On the LA Gladiators, he was surrounded by Moth and Skewed, 2 incredible support players to round out one of the better backlines in that year. On the back of Shu's incredible Baptiste play, the LA Gladiators won the Countdown Cup 4-3 against the Chengdu Hunters, and this is the first time in LA Gladiators history that they won a tournament. Although losing the playoffs later that year, he did win a Role Star, and was one of the best flex supports of the whole year. In 2022, Shu continued his dominance, getting 2 back-to-back stage titles to start off 2022, as well as winning a Role Star that year too. Although the Gladiators later fell off, they still maintained their status as one of the top teams in the league. In 2023, Shu moved over to the Houston Outlaws to join Violet as one half of one of the best backlines in the world. Shu ended up placing in top 2 in both the Mid-Season Madness and in the playoffs, and he was robbed of a role star later that year. After the Overwatch League ended, Shu joined Crazy Raccoon, the best team in OWCS Korea, and showed that he is truly the best flex support player of all time. Right now, I believe it's between Shu and Fielder for who is truly the best flex support in the world. They recently battled it out in the OWCS Korea Finals, where Shu came in on top with Crazy Raccoon winning 4-1 over Team Falcons. However, that could change at any time, and I'm excited to see who really cements their legacy as the greatest flex support player of all time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making this list, and if you like Overwatch esports content, please consider subscribing. I'm going to continue to make more Overwatch esports content soon, so please stay tuned. Leave your list for the top 5 flex supports of all time in the comments below.